One of the things we often do when we come to the Christmas story is we skip right to the joyful parts. The baby in the manger, the shepherds in the field, the angels proclaiming hope. But something we can neglect to do is to first feel the weightiness. Perhaps one of the reasons why the Christmas story can begin to feel routine or boring to us is because we're not first taking time to sit in the uncomfortable places. We need to sit in the darkness of night before the angels appear. We need to feel the groanings of God's people before the Messiah arrives. We need to feel the sting of death and sin before we will rejoice in the victory that Jesus has accomplished through redemption. We will not experience the weightiness of Christmas joy until we first experience the weightiness of sin's darkness. Consider the ways that sin and its effects have brought grief and brokenness into your own life. It could be things like personal regrets, loneliness, broken or damaged relationships, sickness or health issues, racism or wrongful discrimination, difficulties in your work life, the death of a loved one, people who have misused their power over you. Maybe you can even take a minute to pause this video and write out some of the specific ways that you feel sin in your own life and its effects, whether that's your own sin or other people's sin. In addition to our own lives, we also see how sin has affected the world that we live in and the groaning that the world is currently under. Paul says in Romans 8:22 through 23, "For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves." It's important to acknowledge that not everything is right in the world. Even in our joy, there is an intermingled grief and sadness, if we're honest, because things aren't quite right in the world. There's always something lacking, someone not there, some tension in a relationship, something not quite perfect. And that's what makes the news of redemption so good. Jesus didn't just come to earth as a baby. He came for a purpose, ultimately to crush the head of the serpent. He came to set the broken things right. Through his death on the cross, he purchased the redemption for his people and for the creation itself. The good news is that Jesus accomplished what he came for. He defeated our great enemies, death and sin. His coming to earth as a baby was just the beginning. His dying on the cross in our place and his resurrection has won the decisive battle that essentially ends this war. But just like in many wars, one battle may accomplish victory, but it still takes time for the enemy to be fully vanquished. We're currently living in that tension of seeing that Jesus has accomplished that victory for us, but waiting until he comes back for the enemy to be fully defeated and for things to be set right. The words of the popular Christmas carol, "Joy to the World," remind us of that truth that Jesus is reversing the curse. No more let sins and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow far as the curse is found. So even as we prepare our hearts for Christmas, as we dwell on the joyous reminders that the season brings, as we feast with loved ones and enjoy the sights and sounds and music of Christmas, let the sad and broken parts remind us that all is not yet right. Lean into those places of not rightness. Let those groanings remind you that soon Jesus will put everything right. As we consider the theme of redemption and what that means for our life and business, one question we can ask ourselves is, what redemptive aspects does my business have? How am I the hands and feet of Christ to this world? It's a mind-blowing fact that we actually get to take part in what God is doing in the world, the redemption that he is bringing. It doesn't matter what kind of work you do, in some way it is partnering with what God is doing in the world. And that is pretty darn cool. Realizing the particularities of how your work does that gives us humility in recognizing that we are not building our own empires. We are just joining in the work that God is doing. And it also brings just such a weight of significance to everything that we do. We know that his kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and nothing we do for him will be wasted. I hope this reflection has encouraged you and given you some truths to apply from the Christmas story to your life and to your business. And if you appreciated this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I do lots of content like this, applying theology to work and to life. Also, I know that being an entrepreneur can be a long and lonely road. And so if you are a Christian woman who is looking for a group of like-minded business women to consider these things with and to walk with throughout this next year, consider joining us in the Voca Society. We would love to have you. If you use the code ADVENT, you can join us for a free month and check us out. I can't wait to see you there. Merry Christmas.